Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to You've Championed Yourself. Who are you? I'm Chris Ferguson, and I'm your host. It's been a dream of mine to showcase people who have taken their dreams and ideas and turned them into their reality. As they reach beyond their personal struggles, their pains, or traumas, so many people give up. So many people just lose hope. They don't try anymore. But there's the few that who can walk through their obstacles, their challenges, not knowing where it's going to take them. They trust themselves enough not to give up, do the follow through in their personal life, their career, and in relationships. They're the champions who have championed themselves. Today, I have Monique Turner. She's an amazing woman. She's a woman after my own heart. She's all about kids. And for everybody knows I've been in law enforcement for 40 years. The last 21 years was all about kids. It was paying it forward. So I want to welcome Monique to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. When I saw someone talk about you, I was like, oh, "This is my soul sister. We're twins."
Right.
Because it's like I'm all about kids, but the part I didn't tell you about is that I grew up in an orphanage.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I know what it's like to be that unwanted, that kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in the 60s, we didn't have foster care. We didn't have everything else. They just had orphanages or you ran the streets. You were a juvenile delinquent. So I've walked that mile. I've been through those strifes, those struggles, those turmoils, and have always thought there's something better for me. And so when you came up, I was like, oh, this girl is actually my twin.
I love that. Love that. Thank you.
Um, your expertise is the journey and experience with kids. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just give you a quick little background, real quick, my little time capsule story, so I can catch you up to why that is my path. So between the age of 0 to 5 years old, I was abused as I was sitting on my lap, going from my house to my grand. I don't know if I don't know intentionally was that was his thing, was where he wanted me on his lap for to be aroused. But I know for me, so many times of being on a man's lap, and they have their private parts right there, and why should a little girl be sitting directly on another man's private parts as a little girl? It's just beyond me.
Mm.
That was me. And so I enjoyed friction. Here came this friction that I enjoyed. So there was this little girl that nobody knew that was really, really fast. And when I say fast, that means having relations with boys and girls at a young age. That shouldn't have been happening. But at 9 years old, I started a hamburger house. So I was an entrepreneur as a young kid. At 10 years old, I started selling drugs. I grew up in housing projects in the Valencia Gardens, to be exact. My parents are amazing. I love them dearly, but they did do drugs and also sold drugs. So I believe I learned how to sell drugs from not just my parents, but also from my environment. At 15 years old, I caught my first drug case. At 18 years old, I got pregnant with my son. I did graduate high school at 17. At 19 years old, I had my son. At 23, I lost my dad to cancer. At
Mm.
24, I lost my mom to a broken heart. At 25, I went to federal prison to serve 5 years. So with that, then I came home. I didn't believe in God. I wasn't a church going young lady. But then along the way, my friend, I was grieving really, really terrible behind my dad. I was in our room. I was crying and just going crazy. It was his birthday. And she said, Monique, you're grieving wrong. I want you to come in here so we can talk. Let's have Bible study together. So I was against it at first, but then I said, okay, let's do it. And it was just like reading the Bible with her. It was so much that was a part of my life that I could resonate with. And it just changed me. It changed my perspective. And so I also like to say, I believe in the power of three. So my dad passed away. My mom passed away. Then Monique, I didn't die, but the old Monique did die, and the new Monique was birthed. So I also started same sex relationships in prison. And so I am happy to say I stayed with that. I believe that, again, right, that friction led to a whole new thing, right? And so uh, now I met my wife when I came home. And so we've been married now 12 years. But I didn't come home doing the right thing. So a lot of us like to think that when we come home, we're not going to break the law anymore. We're going to do everything right. We're not going back to jail. Well, you know what? If you don't have the support system, if you don't have
Yes.
everything lines up in a way for that to happen, then you know what? Chances are that you're going to do what you've been doing most of your life, which is getting money the best way you know how. And that's
Yep.
what I had an 11-year-old son. So I'm working for minimum wage, $13 an hour. That just wasn't cutting it. I was making $800 every 2 weeks. Tell me, what? How am I supposed to pay bills with that? And so I ended up going back to breaking the law, and that was terrible because it landed me. I ended up catching a state case. So I ended up catching a state case, almost facing 4 years, and I was devastated. But before that state case, I ended up back in the halfway house because I decided to go back to the same environment that I was in. So I was hanging with a friend of mine, got in the car with her. She had drugs. Police pulled us over. Now here I am facing a 6-month violation, and I did absolutely nothing wrong but get in the car with the wrong person. But you know
Mhm.
what? God is good. So during that process, I got a vision from him while I was in the halfway house when it was almost done. He said, Monique, start a nonprofit organization. It is your purpose. So I believed it. And so that was in 2010. It took 3 years for me to actually for it to actual come to pass. But I was working on it through that process, and then I was not working on it, and I was working on it, then not working on it because life is happening. You can't just stop everything to pursue your purpose, right? You have to try to pursue your purpose as life is happening and make it all work for you and trust the process. And at that time, I didn't know about trusting the process, but I was still doing it. And you know what? I ended up getting an opportunity. This is why I love God. My son was failing. He was in the 11th grade and he was messing up in school. And the principal called and said, Monique, I would like for your son to participate in this program. I said, and he said, is it okay? And I said, well, why is it not okay? Why is it not mandatory for him to have to participate in these type of programs if
Right.
he's failing, if you know that he has some social emotional barriers that he needs to address, and so I went in there with all my paperwork, everything that I have been doing at the youth guidance center, because I had been volunteering up there doing workshops, and just told him everything that I believe. And I was writing these plays, and I was like, you guys should have this and you should do this. And he said, when can you start? I said, I start right now. And so I was super, super, super excited. And that's really where I actually got my first opportunity at.
I love that. Well, what you don't know is I started out my law enforcement career as a dispatcher matron, and I had to process all the females that were arrested. And
Mm.
then way back when in Podunk, it's over 40 years my husband and I have been together, and he was a police officer, and I always said, I'm not dating a cop. Cops are assholes. I said that. You know what? I said that. So then we started living together, and the department says, this is nepotism. You can't work here and he be a cop on the streets. If something goes down and you're on the radio, you can't help. And I was like, okay. So I went to work out at a men's prison, and 65% of the prison was male sex offenders. And I didn't go out there. I've never had the attitude, I need to change you, or I need to rescue you, or I need to do anything like that. I'm here not to judge. It's not for me to make your time harder. It's for you to be able to do what you do so that you cannot come back.
Right.
And so that was my mindset. And I hadn't had a pay raise in 7 years. I'm making $1,200 a month and get paid once a month take home pay. It was crazy. So I said to my husband, I said, we got to move. The signs are here. The snowblower broke. Let's go to South Florida. And so we moved from Wyoming because I'm Native American. My father's Native American. My mother's white. But my great-great-grandmother is Cherokee Black. So I
Mm.
feel like I'm the United Nations. I don't judge people. I see everybody as humanity and souls. So it's about, if you need guidance and you ask, I'm going to help you. I'm
Yeah.
going to give you the information. I'm going to help you. And when I saw you and I thought about how you were an advocate for children, I was like, woo woo, this is going to be an awesome thing.
Yeah.
So, um, tell me about some of the social media groups that you do, or things that you do on social media to help the kids.
So I have a social media etiquette workshop that I do, and I do that with the schools, because so we are now contracted. So I went from that one contract to now we have over 10 different contracts, 9 different schools, 6 different districts, serve now over 25,000 students. I know my bio is at 15,000. I have to up
Yeah.
that, switch that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so we have this amazing. I'm going to talk about the I Am Her Girls Empowerment, because this is a program that we can bring to schools all through around the world, all around the nation, actually. And so what we do in our I Am Her Girls Empowerment is one of the things that we cover is social media etiquette. And it's so important to address social media with our young people because we know
Mhm.
that social media is having a huge impact, but it's having a negative impact on our students,
Yes.
right? And so we need to change the narrative and allow them to see how we can social media can have a positive impact and you can actually use social media in a positive way, right? Just like a lot of us adults do. And so we covered the four main keys that I like to call everything keys. I'm giving them the keys to unlock is subliminal posts, right? Because we know that when somebody writes a subliminal post, if you don't know what that means writing a post about someone and not tagging
Mhm.
them and putting their name in it, making them assume that it's about them. Well, we know our young people are good at assuming, right? And so that becomes a huge problem in our young for our students and at the schools, right? No, Miss Monique, she was talking about me. She said that that girl was didn't wear blue pants, and I never wear blue pants. You know, just something so silly. And so I like to, so we do groups around that. We also cover cyberbullying because
Love
cyberbullying
that.
is something that is really, really huge.
Mhm.
And I really like I want our students to know that you
No,
don't have to
no,
be
go.
scared to speak up. Speaking up is
Mhm.
important. And, and so
Yes.
speak up and be heard if you feel like you are being bullied in any type of way. We also cover expose because so many of our young people are exposing themselves.
Yes.
And I want them to, and that's my biggest thing is like, I like to tell them, I do this one thing and I say, okay, I have a question for you all. I want you to tell me who exposes who first. Is it A, you expose you because you sent the picture, or is it B, the person that you sent the picture to that exposed you, or is it all of the above? And they like to say it's B, the person that sent the
Right.
picture. Well, I like to tell them, no, sweetie, it's you. You
Yes.
expose you by sending whatever it is that you send out. If you don't want people to know your business, then you don't send it to nobody. And so and then threats is the other one that we like to cover because threats is really big. And we know we had that big scare a few years back where a lot of people were making a lot of threats at schools and things like that.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
definitely like to cover that. We haven't had that here in California really, but again, it's a big topic, and so we like to make our students aware of everything. But a lot of other things that we cover. So this is a girls empowerment day, so this is a full day event. And so I get these young ladies, they're with me all day. This can be an assembly style. It can be between 40 to 60 young ladies if they don't that they identified that needs this help. And then they just give us a classroom and we're in this classroom. And then we also do activities outside. But we cover emotional intelligence because emotional intelligence is very important, teaching them self-awareness, social awareness, relationship management, and self-management. And so we do all this, and we also are boosting mindfulness, we're building healthy relationships. It's just, and we're building self-esteem, we're building self-confidence. And we do all of this not through me talking to them, all through activity and engagement and improv.
Mhm.
And so, and through skits. And so it's them able to see themselves. So, so powerful. But I also, you'll have a link that, parents and school administrators, anybody will be able to check it out
Right.
and look to see what some of our students are saying about our girls' empowerment.
Well, you're very fortunate because I have a major contacts in charter schools.
Ooh.
She's a principal. We can have a conversation about that after we get done with the interview. But I'm just thinking charter schools because it doesn't take as much to get programs approved
Mm-hmm.
as it would in a normal school district.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it would be the absolute best place because it's beyond color, it's beyond ethnicity, and it's beyond socioeconomics.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter. I was at an alternative high school, 3,000 students. Every kid that got in trouble in the county, they sent them up to me. And so this is how we ran it. But I did the same thing you did. I was the advisor to Crime Watch. But I didn't want these kids to know about crime because they've got one foot in the criminal justice system about ready to be adjudicated. And they got one foot in the education system about being um, thrown out of school permanently.
Right.
So I'm like, no, we can't do this. So let's talk about careers that you could do or aspire to become that could help people not go to prison, not go to jail, not make bad decisions. And every week we had this, and I did this for 15 years at this high school.
Wow.
And so it was, I mean, I didn't mind, but I turned what was a crime watch program into a rehabilitation for kids to come there for support. I still get calls for kids. Like they'll call me up and say, Fergie, I did this when I was in the middle school. Do you think I could apply for this job? And it's like, yeah, the criminal justice system gives you a second chance at 18. Apply for the job. She
Yes.
got the job. She's a teacher. She's working with middle school kids. She absolutely loves it, and is making a huge impact. But that's how you can pay it forward for people, is to help guide them and help them realize, you know what? We're not here to judge.
Right.
We're not here to assume anything. Let's talk.
Yes.
And I think if more people would just say, hey, let's talk. I may not agree with you. I may not agree with your behavior, but it doesn't mean I'm going to treat you any different than any other human being on the planet.
Right.
Let's talk.
Right. Yes, yes. And congratulations to her. And you know what? I had that same fear. See, and this is why I'm on a mission for our young people. One, for the school to prison pipeline, right? Like, let's reduce our kicking our kids out, and let's increase building healthy relationships and allowing them to be able to see the things that they're passionate about, and to help them in the direction that they're trying to go. And so even for me, when I first got this vision, my probation officer and so many other people say, oh, Monique, you can't have a nonprofit. Your background is not going to allow you to do that. You don't even have a college degree. Nobody's going to give you a nonprofit organization, and nobody's going to let you in their schools with their youth, with you being on federal probation and state probation. Well, guess what? When I got that opportunity at the school, he said, when can you volunteer? I was very honest and upfront with my with the principal at the time, because let me tell you this, I wasn't always so upfront. When I first got an opportunity to become a stationary engineer, I was super excited. It was $25 an hour. I was like, yes, it's going to go up to $50 an hour. I just knew that this was the perfect job for me. But guess what? I put the wrong social security number because I was scared in order to find out my background. And guess what happened? 3 months later, I was getting fired because I didn't trust God. I didn't believe that I was worthy of having something like that. But you know what? It's all good, because when I got this opportunity, I knew to be upfront. I knew to tell them exactly what my record was and where I was at. Well, they accepted me to volunteer, but the following year, when they were going to give me a contract, they said, Monique, they gave me the contract, but in August. In December, they were like, Monique, you know what? Too many people are talking about it, and you are going to have to get your record expunged, or otherwise we cannot continue with your contract. I was devastated. I was like, God, please, no, I know that you did not just give me this to take it away from me. Tell me it's not so. Right. And so I called lawyers. I called all these different agencies that say that this is what they do. They help with expungement. They all told me it was going to take about 3 to 6 months. I didn't have that type of time. So I was like, God, please tell me, what am I supposed to do? So he said, you know what? I need to go to the law library. So I went to the law library. I got connected with a lawyer. The lawyer told me that I can write up my own motion. I didn't need a lawyer. So I went in there. Me and my cousin, we wrote up the motion. I went, submitted it to the courts. I had a court date in 2 weeks, went in front of the judge with my letter of recommendation, and I was my own lawyer. And so I went in front of that judge and I talked to that judge, and guess what? Boom, just like that, I was terminated from probation. Went back in the law library, wrote up the motion to expunge my record. Boom, just like that, now my record is expunged. And I was able to do it all on my own without anyone. And so kudos to her, because you know what, this is another part of, even though I'm so passionate working with our youth, I also work with adults and individuals that are on probation that want to get off probation early, because we don't have to sit around and wait for our probation officer. We don't have to wait for the lawyer. We don't have to wait for anybody, especially if we have met all of the requirements that are asked of us upon release. And if we are doing everything that is needed of us, and we are making the changes that we need to make to be a upstanding citizen, then it can happen. I've done it for me, and I've done it for a bunch of other people. So I know that this is something that can be done. And so I'm excited about it. I love recidivism. I want to reduce recidivism on a large scale, right? That's what I want to do. And
well, I want the states to get the same, not the same laws, because that's your biggest problem, depending on what state you live in and what their laws are for the states. With the federal, it's all one thing. But with the state laws where you live, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not as easy. So I kudos to you, and keep helping people. I don't have, well, the times are changed now from what they were before. Back
Yeah.
in the 60s, marijuana was not. LSD was rampant. Drugs were out of control. And so the government just put the foot down and started, really booking people. And if you had a small amount, you went to prison for the same amount of time as a drug dealer,
Yeah.
which doesn't seem fair. It just doesn't seem fair. My brother was a drug dealer. He liked to play Cheech and Chong riding down the highway with his friends. So the fact is he would say, "I'm gonna come pick you up." So I know, I'll walk. I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to be that situation. He goes, "No, I'll give you a high." I said, "Listen, I can't handle it." The only reason why I didn't do drugs is because I got such a bad contact high, and the smell was so nasty. The smell makes me nauseous.
Mm.
So I never got involved in that. And maybe that's my creator saying to me, "Hey girl, this is your easy way out." And so I just started saying, "Hey dude, I can't be sick all the time. And this stuff is making me sick to my stomach bad." So I
Yeah.
would walk and I didn't mind. But the
Right.
fact is he was a drug dealer. I'm one of 11 children that my parents acknowledged that are legally theirs. Who knows how many more is out there? Let me just put it to you that way. So the fact is that, I came from nothing. I came from more than nothing than you did. I didn't even have parents to guide me.
Mhm.
So it was like I used them as the example of what not to do. If they went forward, I either took a left or a hard right. I didn't go down that same path. I didn't care what it was. My dad was an alcoholic. He was a miserable alcoholic. My mother was physically violent and extremely abusive. And so the fact is I asked myself at one point in my life, would I be better off out here at the orphanage, or would I be better off at her house?
Mm.
And I've never regretted as time's gone by and I've grown up, because it helped me to help others. It helped me become a person of service. And
Mhm.
so, and law enforcement for me was to right injustices. If I could be that kind of a law enforcement officer that could change people's lives from injustices to get what's done in the dark brought to the light, I was all about it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So did
Yeah.
I have to have kids arrested? Absolutely. Did I have to have, and one had a gun on campus and it solved 27 homicides. He got expelled from the school district. He came back a year later and thanked me for that, because he got into the church group in his, because he was 17, and he had a long record. So they adjudicated him as an adult. He got into the church program in prison, and it was like a jail, kind of where they housed you in the jail instead of sending you to prison, because he
Uh-huh.
was a juvenile. And he said it changed my life. He says I was headed down a path that I wasn't going to be able to return from. And he
Yeah.
says every time I went out and did a robbery, there was a chance I was going to be dead.
I like, you know what? I agree. So I just got asked that question on a different show. And you know what? If I wouldn't have gone to prison, I definitely would be dead or in jail for a longer period of time.
Right.
Right. Because prison saved me. Prison, I was able to be reborn in prison.
Hmm.
And really, like I said, even though I came home and I still broke the law, God instantly grabbed me back, right? Like, Monique,
Hmm.
we happen to do this, right? Get it together. And so I appreciate sign and the way that he continued to save me as I was continuing to destruct,
Hmm.
right? Very destructive in my life. And so I'm really grateful for that. And this is why I'm so passionate about helping our young people be able to see that, you know what, there's so much to life. And even though we don't have the parents that we want to have, or we don't live in the environment that we want to live in, or have all the money and all the clothes, none of that matters. What matters is really doing the work internally to be
Hmm.
able to discover your true self, right? Like in my book, My Power of Purpose, it's all about removing the mask. The first chapter is
Yes.
about the mask, because so many of us live with a mask. And I know for me, I didn't even know it. Like when I wrote my book, I didn't even know what imposter syndrome was. My mentor told me. He was like, Monique, do you know what your book talks about, imposter syndrome? And I had no clue to what that was. I had to go Google it and start doing research. But then I was like, wow, it is.
Hmm.
And so once we remove that imposter syndrome, then it allows us to really see our power, to see our gifts,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
to have freedom. Because the mind is the battle. When we get control over this mind, then we get control over our life.
It's absolutely true. But see, the thing for me is that I've had 3 near-death experiences in my life. And I keep arguing with the creator saying, you know what? I don't have 9 lives. What the hell's going on here? I don't have 9 lives. What is this whole purpose? What's this passion? And so I've written 3 books. One of them was on bullying. It's called Leave My Bubbles Alone. And it talks about how bullying in the household is where it all starts. So if you and I were in the same household and you see somebody and one of your friends bullying me and you don't stop them, you've just given that silent signal to that your friend that it's okay to bully me no matter where I am, no matter what's going on. And so then if I'm out in public, they start exposing the nicknames you get named by your siblings, and they put that out there, and it's all embarrassing. But then now the process continues and you become more and more defensiveless in the situation. And then you're wondering why, my brother's throwing me under the bus.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, so the fact is that bullying is really tough, but in the whole spectrum of the thing, it's about kids' support and guidance, because so many kids are punting.
Yeah, so many. Listen, like the girls' empowerment, and I keep going this because it's so powerful, and I watch when you see the clip. But out of whether we do a group of 8 to 10 girls, because the girls' empowerment, not only do we do this big event, but I also do follow-up. So we then follow up, because you can do a big event, you're going to make an impact, you'll get the kids to think, but they need now a small group to follow that, right? And then we also do case management that can then follow that. There's different tiers to what we do. And so whether we have a group of 8 to 10, if I do it with the group of 40 to 60 or the group of 100, there's 1 to 2% possibly that feel like, so we do this graffiti wall. The graffiti wall is where they are writing everything that they've been called, and the names that these kids are being called is just heartbreaking, right? And we know because we were all there too. And so from there, after the release, we do the I am her wall, right? Which is, who am I? I'm beautiful, I'm kind, I'm smart. And so I'll say that, because when I say the I am wall, they're all just standing around like, what? I am what? So then I say, I am beautiful, I am kind, I am smart. And then all of them will say, I'm not beautiful. I'll have 1%, maybe 2, that feels that they're beautiful, which is really, really heartbreaking, because I don't care if that is with my 5th graders or if that is with my seniors from elementary to high school. These young ladies do not have confidence. They all have very, very low self-esteem. And this is why so many of our young girls are easily manipulated and easily drawn to other things, right? Which is the mental abuse, sex trafficking, and so many other things, drugs, and just settle in relationships because they feel like, oh, this man, he lifts me up, then he brings me down. He lifts me up, he brings me down. And so our girls' empowerment really helps girls identify their true selves and understand what their power is, to not be easily influenced by somebody else's power.
Well, one of the things that we do in my state here in Tennessee is that we're not real fast to arrest prostitutes, especially teenage prostitutes, because 9 times out of 10, they've been trafficked.
Right.
And they can't say anything. So the thing is they're following along by force, by being under the influence of drugs, not what they're taking willingly, but to be controlled by. And so the thing is so we actively look for the tattoos, and they teach us in law enforcement here to look for the tattoos of trafficking, because they're out there. And if one time you recommend it, or the one time you're taught about it, you'll never forget it. And that's just like they're teaching about help me. And if ever a child comes up and just grabs your hands and does this, that's that silent signal to help me, because I'm being abused. I'm being sexually assaulted. I'm in danger. And so teaching kids about help me with the help me. And it goes, help me. And so the thing is it's an amazing thing, so that they can communicate and then communicate the communities. If a child comes up and touches your arm and does this, dial 911, follow the kid, make sure that you can get law enforcement there to rescue them. Because if you don't, you may never see that child again.
Wow. Thank you. That's I never knew that. And you know what? There's so where I'm at, there's not a lot of sex trafficking, but in the surrounding cities, there
Mhm.
is. And so, wow, I'm gonna just go down to the city now. I just want to go see, walk, and see if I see any young girls, see if any of them are gonna do that. So
Yeah.
I,
So
hey,
I like to educate people on this so that if a child ever does that or they were taught this in school, it is so that it's a way of silently getting themselves some help.
yes,
And
I
this
love.
goes for anybody, a woman, a man, anybody that's under duress, because violence doesn't just stop at young girls. I mean, they're targeted, our youth are targeted so horribly because
Yes.
they're trying to steal the innocence of them. And I don't know, I had two girls try to murder me in the orphanage. And at that point, I told God, Creator, you either take me now or you give me the strength to get past this. I couldn't breathe. They poured talcum powder in my face and my mouth was open. I mean, it was like prison situations in this orphanage. It was a doggy dog world. And
Wow.
I got a blanket thrown over me. They pushed me into the store. This matron came out with a baseball bat and hitting me. And I didn't know who it was. And I just shoved him backwards and she fell down some stairs. She called the police and wanted me arrested because I pushed her down the stairs. She almost got arrested. Yeah, she almost got arrested for not getting me medical attention. I couldn't breathe. Talcum powder is like cinnamon. It clumps. And if it gets into your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your ears, you can't see, you can't breathe. It goes down your throat and it closes off your airway. So it took them 10 minutes to get out there. And when they got there, and I kept saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. They called rescue. And she goes, why are you calling them rescue? She can't breathe, ma'am. You want me to arrest her? I may arrest you because she's a minor in your care and you're neglecting her.
Wow.
So the thing is most people don't know what people go through. But as a criminal profiler, I'm an observer. I look for those little indicators in people, like wide-eyed women when you walk past them and it's panic, like, oh my gosh, they're going to find me out. They're going to find me out. Or, oh my gosh, how can I tell them I need help? And
Mm-hmm.
teaching them the difference is a huge, huge basis to go on because women physically are not the same as men. I mean, when I was working with gangs, I was bench pressing 200 pounds. I had no neck. I mean, when I'm working with gang members on the street, I was bench pressing 200 pounds. I could do it 5 times. And I promise you, I had no neck, but I could take anybody down. It didn't matter who you were. But I would always come up from behind and I would whisper in their ear and say, it's me. You're okay. I need you to
Mm,
stop talking. I need you just to pay attention and follow instructions. This doesn't have to go south.
mm,
So when you deal with them on that way, and they can't tell if you're, oh, I lost you. They can't
yeah.
tell if you're male or female, but my voice wasn't this deep. But at the same token is they didn't know what to do. It took them
Wow.
off guard. But it got more people to listen and have less charges, less issues. And I always looked at the situation. So I'm one of those rare people. I've never had an internal affairs complaint against me in 40 years.
Oh, that's
Never. So when it comes to people, I'm a people person.
me
So
too.
the fact is, you know, I don't care about your background. I love you for who you are and what you do. And I honor you for stepping up and taking action because so many people don't until it affects their life.
Right, right. I think that's what it takes though, right? Is once we are affected by something, some type of experience, some type of past trauma or pain, right? Then that's when we all, right, make a decision to say, you know what, enough is enough. And I want to do something different. I know that's what it was for me. It was that, you know what, once I landed myself in this halfway house for something I did nothing, I didn't do anything to be there besides be in the car with my friend. And then I landed myself. So now what, let me tell you, while I'm fighting this case, I mean, not a case, while I'm going through this violation, I'm in
Yeah.
federal court now. While I'm in federal court and once I come out of federal court, now I'm being arrested by the state police because now here it is. I have been, because I told you I was still breaking the law. So I
Right.
was doing credit card fraud. So now I ended up getting snitched on. So both times I've been to prison was behind the snitch. So it was like, you know what? And I was facing 4 years. So I did this violation. Now here I am facing 4 years. But I said, you know what? If you want to snitch on me, you're taking me. We're going all the way to trial. You're going to get on the stand on me. I'm not going to just take this deal. I took the deal with the feds. I'm not taking it with them. So I went all the way to trial. And of course, the people that I was with, they didn't testify. So they ended up giving me 9 months, and I got 9 months on an ankle monitor. So again, this is all God, and this is why I
Yes.
love God. But I know
Yes.
that these were the experiences that He was putting me through to see, Monique, what are you gonna do? And so at that
Mhm.
time, that's when I said enough was enough. I would not do anything to break the law anymore. That is over with. I am done. And I can't, if I want to take this opportunity, this vision that God has given me, this purpose, this what I know to believe to be my purpose. If I'm going to work with youth, I have to be the example. I have to walk it like I'm talking it, right? And so
Mhm.
I knew that I had to make that change. And that's exactly what I did. And so since 2013, I have not done anything to break any laws. And all I do is teach about breaking laws, about social emotional barriers, and really how to overcome those social emotional barriers through the lens of emotional intelligence. Because when we
Mhm.
do, it really allows us to not just take back our freedom, not just release that, in, like I like to call, the imprisoned mindset, right? Because
Yes.
our mind is in prison, but it allows us to get that freedom mindset and really be free. So like I like to say, I've been chasing money my whole life. I told you guys, since I was 10. But now I don't chase money. I chase the purpose, and the money is
Yes.
chasing me.
Do you know by you chasing money, you were actually pushing it away?
Oh yeah. Now
By
I
you
know that.
pushing
I
money.
did.
But I have a trick I'd like you to do with the girls when you do this.
Okay, let me
Get a
write it.
bunch of little boxes.
Let me write this down 1 second. I want to
Okay.
write it.
No, you're
Okay,
good. This
go ahead.
this is for mindsets because this is what I do with my clients. Get a
Okay.
little box, just a cardboard box.
Uh-huh.
And what they have to do is they have to put all their limited mindset inside that box. And then they just rip it up, rip it up, rip it up, and free themselves of that limited mindset. And so when the box is ripped up, they don't have their boxes anymore and they can do anything. The one thing that has always pushed me forward in my life was that, I guess, being a tomboy,
Mm.
there wasn't anything I could do. If you said you can't do that, oh, you better back up because here comes the bull. I'm coming right through you. I'm going to do it. I mean, I came to Tennessee in 2011, but I wasn't post certified in the state. And so I was working with the kids. I worked with trouble kids here, but they were self diagnosed sociopaths and psychopaths.
Mm.
And so I knew, as the observer and having all this training as a criminal profiler, I knew what they were going to do before they did it. And that just stymied them. They just didn't know they didn't know how to think. They just didn't know. I was that super, I don't know what she is cop that was
Mm-hmm.
going to mess up their lives. So anyway, in dealing with kids, if you can get them out of their own way, their own mindset,
Mm-hmm.
they can do anything. So all my life, if you said I can't do it, but my thing is when I moved up here, I wasn't post certified in Tennessee. At 60, I went to the police academy. I outran 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and I was the oldest one in the class. I wasn't the first one because we had some amazing people in the academy that I went to, amazing people that were going to be the right kind of police officers on the street.
Mm-hmm.
It just, they weren't all tied up and have the super S on their chest or on their ass, whichever it comes. You see it with the new guys, I mean, you see it. But the fact is I graduated with them. I wasn't the last one either, but I wasn't the first one, but I completed it. So at 60, I completed the police academy here in Tennessee.
Wow, that's amazing. And see, that just goes to show, right, that we can do anything that we really
Hmm.
put our mind to, and we're not limited because of age, right? Because
We're not.
I was like, wow, Monique, it's too late to try to start a business. It's too late to walk your purpose. And I was only 35 at the time. But it's never too late, and
It's
no
not.
matter who's telling you no, no means a new opportunity somewhere else. So
Mhm.
I enjoy hearing no. Like how that's so funny. You said the tomboy and the one that's always kicking down the door. That's me. I was the little tomboy. And you know what? I don't care about hearing no. I'm gonna keep going and keep going and
Yes.
keep going until I get a yes, because I know that the yes is around the corner.
Well, I had people tell me, "Oh, you've championed yourself. Who are you? It's not going to go anywhere." I said, "Watch me take this somewhere. Watch me because I'm bringing the everyday people that's taking action in their little corner. And if I connect my little corner to their little corner and it expands, watch what this does. Watch how this happens." I mean, I've had a Native American medicine man on my page. I've had energy healers on my page. I've had people do different things. And most people don't realize is it's the people that you make your hero when you're young. If you can only ever in your life ever meet them. And when I was growing up, I was born in 59. So in the 60s, one of the biggest people in the world that was making the most noise was Muhammad Ali.
Oh yeah, I love him.
And so the thing was, he stood his principles. He had 2-year-old boundaries. He wasn't going to step up for the Vietnam War. He'd rather take the time in prison for being a deserter, which is crazy. But the fact is when you can meet your hero, and I was 29, and I don't know if you can see his face.
I can.
And I spent 7 days with him and I asked him everything. His daughter's an amazing young lady. She's doing amazing things in her community. And I
Mhm.
said to him, I said, "What was the biggest thing in your life that kept you going?" And he said, "What was yours?" And I said, "Well, don't tell me no." And he goes, "That was mine." And I said, "Are we related? Am I somehow connected to you?" And I just don't know. Was I adopted or something? I mean, but the fact is it changed my life. I mean, I was always that kid, always paying it forward. But to meet your hero, spend 7 days, 10 hours a day with him, and just seeing his mindset, I've been gifted. I've been gifted in so many ways just to know that he thinks or he thought like I thought.
Right, right.
And when
Yep.
you can do that, when you can see somebody, so look at Muhammad Ali, and I'm going to use him to you. Look at what he accomplished, even when being arrested for stupid, silly stuff, for things, bad decisions, whatever. He still came out on top, and he was people's heroes beyond color.
Yes.
And there's people now that, you know what? I'm not necessarily, I don't get into politics. I don't do anything like that, but it's humanity first for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Humanity first, because if we can all just sit down and let's talk, we can find out that we are all really connected. We all have the same ideas, understandings. It might be a little bit twisted here, twisted there, depending on your cultures, your traditions. But hey, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad thing.
Right.
So that's why I love and I get my message out. That's my passion and purpose, because you can do anything you want.
Yes. Yes. I totally agree with you. Hmm.
So, um, what is the best way somebody can get in touch with you? You have your webpage, which is moniqueturner.com.
So I have MoniqueTurner.com. You can also go to Instagram. Instagram, I do a lot of videos, and I also have an online store that has a lot of different digital products on imposter, how to remove the imposter syndrome, 3 ways to better understand your emotions, how to turn your journal into a book. Just all these digital products on different things that I know how to do, that I've done
Mhm.
for myself when it comes to being an entrepreneur. I'm now sharing that and paying it forward because those products, a lot of them on there are free, are only $10, $5, very, very cheap and affordable. And so you can go to Monique Turner TV, or you can also go to Purpose Over Prison. Now, both of those are Instagram. There's
Okay.
also LinkedIn, which is Monique Turner for LinkedIn. And then if you are on Facebook, you can go to Never Personal, Always Purpose LLC. And that's our LLC. And if you would like YouTube, there are a lot of YouTube videos. Then you can go to Monique Turner, hashtag NPAP. And so for everybody, and you have the links, anybody that would like the link for 3 ways to better understand your emotions, that is a series that I'm giving you for absolutely free. If you are on probation and you want to try to terminate your probation early, then the link is also there for that. Fill out that probation questionnaire. If you, and then there's also a link to book a call with me, so that if you have a girls empowerment, I mean, if you're in a school and you would like to bring one of our girls empowerment days to one of your schools or to your organization, say you have an organization with all girls, then yeah, like a girls Inc. or something, then we can also do that too. So, and we have a different tiers, and there's different ways that we tailor our Girls Empowerment Day to fit the need of your student and your schools. There is not no one size fit all. That's, that's
Correct.
the problem, right? Everybody wants, no, just this way. No, we meet our students right where they're at, and we adjust to the needs of the students in your school, so that way we are building a community within your own school and building healthy relationships. And so there's a link that you can do that, but you can visit our website at familypurpose.org. That's the website for the nonprofit organization.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I've enjoyed this. Again, like I told you before, I feel like we're soul sisters because we're running the same path. We've been doing the same thing for the same purpose. And
Yeah.
I just love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Whatever I can do to help you, I'm absolutely all about that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on the show. This has been amazing. It's been definitely amazing. Also, being able to hear your story, super, super powerful. And the impact that you are having and have had on so many young people is really amazing. It really is.
Well, when you come from so far behind the tracks and you see people struggling and none of the kids knew I grew up in an orphanage. None
Mhm.
of them knew. Because I don't know, in my own mind, I thought it would show a weakness in me. And I didn't want to be vulnerable in that way at that time.
Mhm.
Because if I could help them and it stay on a professional level, they would see me as who I am and what I represent at the school.
Mhm.
Because sometimes you can build relationships with people and you're not that bad cop. You're not that one jerk. You're not that one
Right.
that's going to, really bomb people. But again, I did my job. I did my job. But at the same time, Monique, thank you for coming on my show. I'm honored to have you.
Thank you.
And um, everyone, I highly recommend you hook up with Monique when this podcast airs. I'll have all the links on it so that you can go and do the things that you need to do to help somebody take the action. It's you know what, it's bad enough. Like in my family, I had two siblings murdered, my brother and my niece, and the cops in small towns, and they didn't know what to do.
Wow.
And
Sorry.
I had to literally go in there and say, let me do a forensic investigation. Let me do a timeline. Let me do this. Let me do that. And let's figure out who did this. But then since then, my brother was 23. I was 20 at the time. So probably 7 years after that, I started doing investigations for missing and murdered individuals. I don't care what color you are. I just don't want people to know what I know and not know where your siblings are or your family members are,
Right.
because that just does a mental mind crazy to you.
Right.
So again, it's whatever I can do to pay it back. When you've walked trauma, it's just like, okay, I can't have other people know this. Let me help them find their children. And so that's what I do too. And I don't charge. This is a labor of love.
That is so amazing. So amazing. We definitely are soul sisters, because there's that I do too that I just do not charge for and don't charge extra. And speaking of that, I'm glad you just said that. So anybody that is in prison, and I will give. Okay, if you people that are in prison, you have a family member or a friend or anything that is in prison, I will gift them with my new Purpose Over Prison book. So this book has multiple people's perspective, not just mine, but other people, how, and they're telling their story. I asked them questions, and the answers are in here on how they were able to get to a place where they were able to choose purpose over prison. And then I also have my Power of Purpose book that I also will gift to anybody that is in prison. And this book tells the story on how I was able to overcome being the little girl that went through abuse and pain and trauma, and really getting to a place where I was able to walk in my purpose. So this is a discovery of purpose. And so I really, really love these two books. They're like my two most favorite books, even though I have children's books and other books as well. So anybody in prison, yes, if you just send me an email, you can email me at info@neverpersonalalwayspurpose.com, and then with the information, and I'll send them a book directly.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Um, I love all the things that you're doing. I love all the ways that you're helping the people out that can be helped out. And so that is amazing. It just sings my heart song.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, Monique Turner, it's been amazing. I could talk to you for hours.
Right. Me too.
So I'm going to let you go. Have a great day, blessed week, and know that um, there if more people would take action, we can end this. We can end children being harmed. We can end children being taken advantage of, adults being taken advantage of, human trafficking. Just step up and do your part and say, I don't want anybody hurt anymore. It doesn't have to be my child. I just don't want any children hurt. And
Yeah.
that's the difference. So thank you. Thank you so much. Many
Thank,
blessings.
thank you. Thank you.
It takes a special kind of individual to dream their thoughts and ideas and turn them into reality. Monique Turner has stepped past their fears. She stepped past all the trauma and pain and stayed her course. And the courage to follow through to the end was the way she changed her life. It is amazing. And this just shows anybody can do this. You just have to be authentic about it and want to change. Monique, you've championed yourself. Now we know who you've become. Thank you for sharing your ideas, your thoughts, and your dreams with us today. Many blessings. Much love.